Let's go to the international desk now, where Sophie Mokoena is telling us what is on the diary this week, SABC News specialist correspondent. Sophie, Trump again coming out lambasting South Africa, and this time reverting to what was an earlier statement he made, which was that no U.S. official will participate and attend the G20, despite the fact that they, a few months ago, given confirmation that Vice President J.D. Vance will be attending. Has this caused some uncertainty in the international community?
I don't think so. It was expected that as you move towards the summit, America might come up with something new. And I think both the host South Africa and member states of the G20 were expecting that the United States of America is likely going to try and derail the summit because they don't agree with the theme of the summit. Now, the fact that America also pulled out of the COP30 in Brazil just days before heads of state meeting, it was expected that with the G20 summit, where President Trump has been vocal to oppose the theme of the summit and, of course, at the bilateral level, questioning South Africa's internal policies of redress using the Afrikaner community, something was going to happen. Because even the announcement that now J.D. Vance is coming, it came at a time where everybody knew that President Trump was not going to attend. And therefore, there was expectations that it will be a low-key delegation. If it's the highest, it might be the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, if you are lucky, or else they will delegate the embassy, the attaché who's in charge at the moment, because there's no ambassador to attend these meetings. But then he made an about 10 to say J.D. Vance is coming. In his preparations, Vance even included a visit to Kenya that people were talking about as part of his visit to Africa. Now, again, there's uncertainty whether he will still go to Kenya as well. So you're dealing with President Trump, who's very unpredictable. And therefore, even now, yes, this is what he is saying, but that doesn't rule out the fact that some representation will be there on behalf of the U.S. At which level, we don't know.
Yeah. Let's talk about something that's seeming a little bit more domestic but still regional, and that is President Cyril Ramaphosa having chaired the extraordinary SADC meeting that had taken place.
Yes, you'd recall that after the coup in Madagascar, the president of Madagascar fled the country, and his citizenship was revoked because he had a dual citizenship. He's a citizen of Madagascar and France, and the laws of that country does not allow someone with dual citizenship to hold high office. And therefore, at that time, it's after he was elected as the chair of SADC, at the SADC meeting that was in Madagascar in August. Now, South Africa was going to take over as the chair of SADC next year. South Africa is the incoming chair, and by virtue of being incoming chair, you become a deputy. And therefore, there was a special meeting now to ask the deputy country, South Africa, to step in. And Madagascar accepting that based on the political situation, they can't lead the regional organization. And therefore, that meeting looked at handing over to South Africa to chair the SADC as interim. And that speaks to next year, again, South Africa will chair SADC because it was a standing arrangement that South Africa will be taking over the reins. As you know, that it does rotate annually. And therefore, that is why the president, after approval from cabinet and the rest of his peers in the region, is now the interim chair of SADC. He's now in charge of SADC.
Yeah. And let's talk about COP30. That's taking place in Brazil. Donald Trump had also snubbed that. But this is a very important COP gathering.
It is a very important COP gathering when you look at challenges of climate change. And unfortunately, after President Trump was elected, you'd recall that he signed that executive order immediately after taking office to pull out of the climate peace agreement, and therefore the Paris Agreement, and him calling climate change hoax, criticizing the scientists. So that derailed also the discussions around planning for COP30. And therefore, fortunately, Brazil was able to marshal the troops in terms of countries, institutions, agencies, and ordinary organizations and civil society to focus on climate change. And therefore, this successful conference in terms of attendance and participation. Now, we are waiting to hear the outcomes. But you are correct, the U.S. is not there, and it's pointed out with the G20 issue, but it emanates from the fact that President Trump, after taking office, pulled out of the Paris Agreement.
Yeah, and then just finally, Zimbabwean politician Job Sikala is expected to appear in court after he was arrested in South Africa this week.
Yes, tomorrow he is expected to appear in court. SABC spoke to his attorney, that is Eric Mabuza. We know that some people had approached senior counsel Dalimpofu to help him, and therefore, because senior counsel Dalimpofu is an advocate, you must have a lawyer or an attorney to brief him, and then he can take over the case. So that job was taken by, or that assignment was given to Eric Mabuza, who then perhaps will decide, because he works with many advocates and senior counsel, he might still stick with advocate Dalimpofu. He might decide on Ngaitobi, because in his pool of people that he always bring in terms of their expertise, we have many advocates and senior counsel. So he is appearing in court tomorrow, and I think it will be clearer tomorrow where to from here. But the charges revolve around him being in possession of explosives. People who are close to him are saying those explosives were planted in that car that he was using. But then he will have to prove beyond reasonable doubt in terms of this argument. But the good thing is that with South Africa, you know that investigations are very intense. And I'm sure the South African police, because it involves a foreign national who's also high profile, who had challenges in this country, they will go all out and get the best investigators to investigate. We've heard that they've already requested a CCTV where they were, because they arrived there earlier on, had lunch there, dinner there. So that CCTV footage will assist in giving information when they arrived, what happened, and what happened to the car that was parked there almost the whole day, and when they leave. So I think on this one, I trust the South African Police Service to do the job.
We'll certainly take a look at that very closely as the week unfolds. Sophie Mokoena, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it.